Hello, everyone, and welcome to Full Time, where we take you around the world of soccer, locally, regionally, nationally, and internationally. The Full Time podcast is presented and powered by 91 Network. You're listening to Season 5, Episode 29 of Full Time. I'm your host, Daniel Scarpino, and with me is our co-host, Gitano Gallo. Before we begin today's show, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. The Full Time Podcast is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza. With their 2 locations in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, you can download and access the Pizza Portal app so you can enjoy a delicious hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars today. The Full Time Podcast is also sponsored by Sault Sports. To check out Sault Sports and all of their articles, announcements, and streaming platforms, including True Host Media and True North Radio, visit SaultSports.com as well as Sault Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We remind our listeners that recordings of Full Time occur weekly or bi-weekly, and uploads to all of our platforms for public viewing and listening occur weekly or bi-weekly as well. Folks, we welcome you back to Full Time, where it's all footy all the time. G, on this fine evening, how are you, my brother?
I am doing great, Scarps. Not looking forward to playing you later this week, but outside of that, doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing all right, man. Sun's shining, and life is good, no doubt about it. And yes, we do play each other Thursday night, so we will definitely be there together. In today's show, we will discuss the Europa League final outcome, Europe's Big Five for the final time this season, a preview of the Champions League final, and local and regional soccer. As always, if anyone would like to listen to our previous content, please check us out at Full Time on all platforms of 91 Network. And without further ado, Gitano, and to everyone who has taken the time to tune in here today, let's kick off. We get things started with a discussion regarding the Europa League. Its final was played last week, and of course that was between Manchester United and Tottenham. An uncharacteristic and quite frankly strange final that no one predicted nor quite wanted. A first-half goal by Tottenham's Brennan Johnson in the 42nd minute would put Spurs ahead 1-0, and from there, they would never relinquish their lead. A game plan built around defensive solidarity on behalf of Tottenham would see them get their first major trophy in 17 years. Tottenham are Europa League champions as they defeat Manchester United by a score of 1-0. G, before I pass it to you, the game summary that I just provided isn't long-winded, it's not detailed, and that's because there really wasn't anything in this game. Some half chances, a little bit of drama here and there, but if we're really honest, this wasn't a particularly good game, nor was it a great cup final at all. But I'll be first to say it, to get it out of the way, and you know, I'm honest in my assumptions and in my opinions, of course. Hats off to Tottenham because they came in with an idea, somewhat of a game plan. It actually worked out, and Manchester United had no way of breaking them down. They had no idea of what they were intending to do with or without the ball. So I put my right hand up and I say well done to Tottenham. But I'll pass it over to you here and now, my friend, for your comments and thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it pretty brief because, like you said, like the game, it sucked. It was awful.
Awful.
The Mickey Van de Ven goal line clearance is probably the highlight of the whole game. Which, to be fair, it was incredible. Like that was fantastic. But if that's the highlight of a European Cup final, then like that kind of just shows the levels we're at. Shout out to Ang. He said he was going to win something in his second season. He went and did it. So like I'm excited for him. Because like Spurs can't fire him right now.
No, they can't sack him.
Like you absolutely cannot sack him right now. So just incredible stuff from him. And then just on Tottenham, very briefly, like Tottenham and defensive stability are two very opposite things, especially this season. So I was shocked at how cohesive they looked in defense. It's the one thing I've been kind of roasting them for all year is how just poor they've been defensively. So to see them, I mean, like if you're going to have a game in a 50-odd game season where you want to play your best defensive football, like Europa League final is the one you want to do it in. So shout out to them for that. And I just want to like throw like a quick hypothetical at you for United.
Sure.
If Bruno doesn't play this season, they get relegated, do they not? Like if Bruno blew his ACL first game of the season and missed the whole year like Rodri, I think United genuinely might get relegated.
I think it's a relegation scrap. I think they'll survive because I couldn't believe it. It's like 24 hours after they lose a final and they're ready to announce Mateus Cunha. Like the draw of that club is still huge. Like I think that they'll get bodies in, but I think if they don't have Bruno, that might be a relegation scrap, but maybe just survival, G.
Yeah, he seemed like the only player out there for United, anyways, that would like cared even like the slightest bit. Um, and he's just, I mean, he's not a bad player. He just, I think, is surrounded by morons.
Yeah, more or less.
But yeah, like just the rumors that one of the teams in the Saudi league is offering him like 700 grand a week, like
Yeah,
just that kind of sparked that conversation of like if he's not there, like what does United do?
I know. Again, the draw of the club will be there for players, and they'll always have people in and out of the door. I'm really interested to see what happens with Marcus Rashford. Like, really interested, and players of his ilk, if you will. So, yeah, I don't know, Gitano. It was a bizarre final. Kind of glad that it's over, to be honest. But yeah, regardless, it's Tottenham who do qualify, by the way, for Champions League next season after winning this trophy. And if you think about it, 17th place in the Premier League, one place above the relegation zone. No team in Premier League history who's suffered 22 defeats in a season has ever survived. But I think you made the point on our last show so eloquently. If it wasn't for three teams having some of the worst seasons in Premier League history, cumulatively, Tottenham would be down.
Absolutely, and so would United. They
So would
did United
United.
hit 40 points?
Yeah, I
I
think
know
because
we're.
they won against Aston Villa on the final match day, right? So I think they got the
Oh yeah, they
42.
squeaked it barely,
Yeah.
just barely. But
But
that's wild.
yes, it really is. And again, you know, the rules of the competition were the rules of the competition. Everybody knew going in, if you win this competition, you're going Champions League. So Tottenham went out and did what they had to do, and Ange said what he was going to do, and he damn well went out and did it. And at least for the short term, that does change the immediate future of Tottenham. And Manchester United will be looking to go into a deep rebuild going into next season. Moving along, it's now time that we get into a final discussion for this season with Europe's Big Five. After having wrapped up the Bundesliga and Ligue 1 last week, we will be reviewing the final three leagues in Europe's Big Five here and now. And we're going to begin with Serie A in Italy, and it is Napoli who have won it and are crowned Serie A champions. It was between Napoli and Inter in their respective final matches of the season, and with Napoli going into the final match day up 1 point in the standings, they did the business, winning their match and thus winning the Scudetto. Napoli finishes on 82 points, whereas Inter finish on 81 points in second. Atalanta get third with 74 points, and Juventus grab fourth with 70 points. All four of those teams will play in next season's Champions League. Roma finished the season in fifth with 69 points. They will play in the Europa League next season. Fiorentina gets sixth with 65 points. They will be in the Conference League next season. Gitano, a bit of a two-parter here. Let's first start by talking about Napoli as the title winners, and then from there we will go into the sides that got European football. The floor is yours, sir.
So last week I made the joke about Anthony. What happens when you leave United? You become like a fantastic player. Scott McTominay. I'm pretty sure if he hasn't already been confirmed, is
Player of the
rumored to
season.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like player of the season and a Napoli side winning the Scudetto. Unbelievable stuff. And that's the thing. He was a bright spot in a bunch of really poor United teams. I'm so glad for his sake that he kind of got out of that and is now getting the credit and the titles and the recognition that he deserves. He was just monstrous this season. Also, the rumor is, well, two Napoli rumors. One that Antonio Conte might be out the door, which is wild. The most Antonio Conte, I think, of all time.
I know.
Win the Scudetto and then he's Jeff. But the second rumor is that they're potentially signing KDB, which I think is just going to be, Conte or not, it's just going to be electric. I think he's going to crush it in Serie A still. But yeah, they were just extremely impressive all year. And again, you got to remember they lost the Georgian winger who went to PSG, whose name I still cannot pronounce. They lost him in January. He's one of their best players. Victor Osimhen left in the previous summer, and they still turn around. And mind you, Osimhen only went on loan, but still, the fact that they turned around and won the Scudetto against one of the best sides. Inter's been fantastic under Inzaghi for the last few years. Just super, super impressive stuff from them.
Yeah, very much so. And Serie A was definitely the best title race all season. And then the teams as well who got European football for next season. I think all the Italian sides will fare very well indeed. But yeah, a huge tip of the cap to Antonio Conte and all of Napoli, because I wouldn't say that not many people had Napoli on their radar. I think definitely everyone considered them for European football, but to tip them as champions, I can't say that too many people would have done that. But rightfully so, they're at the top of the table, which is where they stay and remain. Napoli Serie A champions. In the Premier League, it's all said and done, and the standings are finalized. Liverpool end as champions with 84 points. Arsenal finished second with 74 points. Manchester City claimed third with 71 points. Chelsea grabbed fourth with 69 points. Newcastle latch on to fifth with 66 points. All five of those teams will be playing in next season's Champions League, along with Tottenham, who won the Europa League. In sixth place is Aston Villa, who, the same as Newcastle, had 66 points but a lesser goal difference. Villa will play in the Europa League next season alongside Crystal Palace, who won the FA Cup. And Nottingham Forest finished in seventh with 65 points. They will play in next season's Conference League. Gitano, this is the summary of the Premier League, with 9 out of 20 teams getting into European competitions next season. Your thoughts on the season that was?
Yeah, I don't think anyone really thought this season was going to play out the way it did. Um, you know, I think people were expecting a little more of a title race. I know I certainly was. And whether it was Liverpool, Arsenal, City, we expected there to be a little bit closer. I will say the race for the European spots was fantastic. I really enjoyed that final day table watching. That was really fun. Um, but honestly, my favorite thing about this whole season is United finishing 15th and Spurs in 17th. It was a fun, just like for context of United's season, they finished on less points than Stuart Pearce's 05-06 City team. And if they hadn't won on the final day, they would have finished below his 06-07 team that only scored 10 goals at home all season. That's like how poor United was this season. Because 05-06 City is obviously pre-takeover and all that. And then just one final kind of City note. It's wild that in our worst season in a decade, we still finished with the second most wins in the entire league, finished third, European Football Cup final. Like the standards at City are ridiculously high right now, and I'm really kind of grateful for that. And it was just fantastic to see Rodri on the pitch again. Couple sub appearances. He looked a little out of touch. He hasn't kicked a ball in, but yeah,
that'll happen when you suffer that kind of injury.
Yeah. When you blow your ACL the way he blew his ACL. Sorry. Yeah, looked a little rusty, but now he's got the Club World Cup in the summer to kind of get back up to shape, and I'm sure that he will be back to his best shortly. But yeah, I think overall, obviously not the result I wanted at the top of the table, not the result you wanted at the top of the table, but an entertaining season nonetheless.
Definitely, and all eyes now go to the summer, Gitano, because teams are going to be busy because they have to add depth if they want to keep challenging at the top. So like we said, 9 teams out of 20 from this Premier League are going to be playing in Europe next season. It's going to be a very, very, very busy summer for all of these teams. And finally, in Spain's La Liga, as we covered on our last show, Barcelona are champions of Spain. Joining them in the top 5, which qualifies for next season's Champions League, is Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, and Villarreal. Those 5 teams will be playing in Europe's biggest and best competition next season. The likes of Real Betis and Celta Vigo will both be playing in next season's Europa League as they claim 6th and 7th position. And in 8th is Rayo Vallecano, who will be in the UEFA Conference League qualifiers. Gee, this is how La Liga ends for the top finishers who will get, and those are the ones, of course, that will get European football next season. The likes of Real Sociedad and Valencia miss out. And when you look at the bottom of the table, both Girona and Sevilla narrowly escape relegation by a single point. What a season in Spain, Gitano.
Yeah, so I was actually going to start with Sevilla and Girona. Girona, we kind of expected the drop off. That what they did last year was very Leicester-esque. Was never really going to be sustained long term, especially when a bunch of their better players were sold over the summer. So we kind of expect them to drop off, maybe falling to a point above relegation wasn't entirely expected, but we did expect a drop off. Sevilla, though, I'm extremely disappointed with. For a team that they won back to back Europa Leagues not too long ago. they're never going to be title contenders, but they're always in those European places, always kind of in and around the top half of the table. So to see them fall off so far is a little disappointing. But for the rest of the kind of the top half of the table, pretty par for the course. Valencia have been dropping kind of steadily for years, so I'm not shocked to see them kind of drop into mid-table. But you look at, Atletico Madrid, Athletic Club, Real Betis, Villarreal, all kind of being in the mix for Europe. It's pretty much like par for the course.
I would say so, most definitely. And I mean, again, it wasn't as of an exciting race as City A was, certainly, but up until that 25 game mark, we had something definitely to really keep our eye on. And Gitano, that's it for Europe's Big Five, man. That's another season that's 38 weeks up, 38 weeks down, essentially. And we've covered it through and through. And it was an absolute pleasure, my friend. I love doing that with you every single season. It's been a heck of a lot of fun once again.
Absolutely, and I always enjoy talking it with you. It's almost doing the show is almost like push me to watch a little more. Not that I don't watch like a ton. I can't say that I watch like every single match week, every single top five league. But before I used to just catch the highlights. Now I'll definitely throw on kind of a random Bundesliga game just to see what's going on. Liga is probably
Yeah.
the only one I won't do that for. But yeah, it's just been a pleasure to cover the season with you, and hopefully next season we get a little better results for us personally. But outside of that, it's been fantastic.
Agreed, Gitano, very much so, sir. And again, that's 38 weeks up, 38 weeks down, and it won't be before long before we get into week one of 38, because the off season, if you want to call it that, in our sport is basically next to nil. So great for us, and can't wait to do it again next season. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you're listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. The biggest game of the season in European competition for club football is on the horizon, and that, of course, is the Champions League final. This year's final will be played between PSG and Inter. Gitano, before we delve into the analysis of this one, what can you say for these two teams having qualified for the final and having the chance to lift the biggest trophy and most prestigious trophy of the season?
Yeah, I mean it's something both teams have been now wanting for a very long time. Inter obviously having won it in the past, haven't won it any time recently. And you kind of look at the window, if you want to call it that, of this squad, of this group. It's kind of nearing the end. In terms of like they've got a lot of older players in that squad, still high quality, but the window's kind of shrinking. Whereas PSG are kind of on the other end of that, where this window for them is just kind of opening up. No Champions Leagues in their club's history yet, losing one final already. I think both teams will be I think desperate's maybe like underselling it to win this Champions League this year. Both teams need it for totally different reasons, but like equally just the same. I think it's going to be a hell of a final.
I think so too, man. And you kind of hit it on the head on our last show. When I rewatched it, you said for the Europa League final, it's going to be the worst 1-0 you've ever seen. And that's exactly kind of what happened. And to your point here, when you say the word that it's desperation, it's going to be desperate. I honestly think that the final will feel like a matter of life and death for both teams. I think that's how they're going to play. And I can't say that at this second I know what the score is going to be, but I do know for sure that that's how the game is going to feel. So I, like you, can't wait for this one. And we're going to take a look at both teams' journeys in this competition, and we will begin with PSG. Coming out of the newly formatted league phase of the competition, PSG left it until the last day of the league phase to secure a spot in the knockout round. Nevertheless, they did defeat Brest by an aggregate score of 10-0 in the new round of 24, getting themselves into the round of 16. In the tightest of affairs in the round of 16, being level at 1-1 on aggregate, PSG got it over the line against Liverpool in penalty kicks, resulting in a berth in the quarterfinals. Another Premier League side in Aston Villa would try to take down the French Giants, but had no luck, as PSG narrowly got that one over the line by an aggregate score of 5-4. And in the semi-final, a third Premier League team tried to knock down the champions of France, and that, of course, was Arsenal, who failed to do so, losing on an aggregate score of 3-1. Gitano, PSG get to the final after having to, what many people would say, do it the hard way. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, played poorly in the league phase. Like really below expectations for everyone. Obviously, people maybe not expect them to do like the auto qualification. It was what, top 8
Yeah.
automatically qualified. We kind of figured they would be within like 10 or 12. They are one of the best teams in Europe. They have been for a very long time. So to see how kind of poorly they performed, like you said, saving it to the last match day to get in, even to qualify for the rest of the knockouts was a little bit of a shock, but very much kind of turned their season around when it came time for it. Obviously, crushing Brest in the round of 24. And then I just didn't realize until you were saying it, like, yeah, they played 3 Premier League teams like
Yeah.
back to back to back, and 3 of the better ones. Obviously, like this Liverpool side, one of the best we've seen in a very long time from them. What they've done domestically has been fantastic. So to see PSG beat them, not handily, they didn't, beat they didn't pound them, but they didn't like squeak it either. I thought it was a very even contest. Obviously, penalties having to decide it. Villa, that was a hell of a quarterfinal.
Yeah.
Villa pushed them, I think, a little more than everyone kind of expected them to. But again, PSG, this very young side, very inexperienced in big European games side, rose to the occasion there as well. And then against your Arsenal in the semi-final, really just a mature performance from them in both legs. A really just impressive run from PSG.
Yeah, and again, I won't really speak to the league phase, but they obviously did save it late. But you take a look at the way that they won that round of 24, pure dominance. The way that they won against Liverpool with resilience. The way that they withstood the almost comeback of Aston Villa, which showed their tenacity and their ability to be a very unified squad. And then against Arsenal, the level of control that they had and the maturity, to your point. So being able to win in a variety of different ways, I think if you're PSG, is something that you can kind of hang your hat and be really proud of going into the final. Inter's run in the Champions League has been slightly different, however. They finished in the top 4 of the league phase of the Champions League, having the best defensive record in their 8 games played, only conceding 1 goal. They automatically qualified for the round of 16, where they went up against Feyenoord, dispatching them by a score of 4-1 on aggregate. In the quarterfinals, Inter got past Bayern by narrow margins, winning 4-3 on aggregate. In the semifinals, as many continue to call it the best semifinal in Champions League history, Inter defeated Barcelona in the most enthralling 7-6 aggregate score that most will ever see, thus getting them into the Champions League final. Inter have had a unique but very different run to PSG in this competition. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so obviously Feyenoord in the quarterfinals is. I think Feyenoord's a good team. Don't get me wrong. I think it was this season that I had said that they might have a bit of a better run in the Champions League than most were expecting. Not a dark horse, but
Yep.
a good run. So it's not like Inter played like a championship team or anything like that. Like Feyenoord's a very good team, handled them comfortably. Then up against Bayern Munich, who again dominated domestically. It was probably a little tighter than Inter would have liked. Gave up a few more goals than they would have liked as well. Like you mentioned, their defensive record in the group stage was, or the league phase, just unbelievable, but also very like typical Inter. Like if you had said, one team's going to come out of the group stage or the league phase, conceding 1 goal, who's it going to be? I would have picked Inter every single time. That's just how they are. But again, like back to the point with Bayern Munich, just controlled one of the most dominant teams in Europe. Who played really well kind of up to that point. The Barcelona tie is just... I mean, I'm still at a loss of words for it. Like you said, it's the best Champions League. It's one of the best ties in Champions League history. But again, like coming back and fighting back the way that they did when Barcelona clawed back to, not just cave to hold on, to go and get those late goals, to equalize and to go ahead. I think that's going to provide a big boost of confidence for them, knowing that they could be, absolutely on the brink and with, seconds left on the clock and still be able to like pull it back. I think that's a huge kind of momentum boost for them to know that they can do that. So yeah, not the most typical Inter run to a final you'll ever see, but very different from PSG's. But Inter, rightfully in the final with some fantastic performances. I guess it's not their typical route to the final, but they are there and they are 90 minutes away from winning the Champions League.
That's exactly right. And what I will say is that the way that they've progressed through this competition has been, in fact, very unique, because they start the competition, those first 8 games, they concede 1 goal. They go up against Feyenoord, they only concede 1 goal. And then all of a sudden from there, they start leaking more goals, right? They start playing a lot more open. So you wonder how that's going to set them up for the final. Are they going to, be their typical, very compact, narrow self, or are they going to play open and try and, go punch for punch? So it makes for interesting stories, and it makes for an interesting final upcoming. And according to oddschecker.com, PSG have an implied win probability of 43.5%, whereas Inter has an implied win probability of 30.3%. The odds of this match being tied at the end of regulation, meaning going to extra time or penalties without a predicted winner, sits at 26.2%. Gee, do these odds make sense for you?
I would give Inter a little more of a shot. I think that's going to be a little. If I were to do it, it would be a little more even. Might even lean Inter's way. I don't want to spoil my prediction, but the thought of this game going to extra time or penalties, I definitely lean a little bit towards that. I don't think it's going to be a very open, like fast flowing game. I think it's going to be really slow, methodical, tactical. So I wouldn't be shocked if it went 90 minutes or like past 90 minutes, but yeah, I think the odds are just like slightly off.
Yeah, I thought so too, because when I originally saw that it was 43.5% for PSG, I thought, well, that's too high. It's far too high. But at the end of the day, I am like you in the sense that I'd be a little bit surprised if it doesn't go past 90 minutes. I expect it almost to go past 90 minutes. That's just kind of the way that I think it's going to pan out. But I mean, the game is won and lost on the pitch, so we will see what happens this Saturday. Gitano, it is all down to our predictions. It's May 31st that will go to the final. That's this upcoming Saturday. Who will be crowned the best team in Europe this season and ultimately Champions League winners, Gitano?
I think it will be Inter. I think it is finally their year. I just think the experience in that squad, having most of those guys played in Champions League finals or semifinals before, I think that's going to be the real difference between them and PSG. I think this PSG team, like I said, very young. Their window is just kind of opening up. I expect them to be here a lot more in the next couple of years, but I just think for this year, I just think PSG's experience is going to get them over the line.
Inter's experience?
Or yeah, sorry, Inter's
Okay,
experience. Sorry, is going to get them over the line. Sorry.
very good. Gitano, I hate to do this, but I am exactly on the same page as you. I expect that this Inter team is going to do it because experience does mean something, especially in this competition. And I think Inzaghi's going to not lose another. I think that it's his time to get over the line. I think it's his time for his team to get over the line. I do believe as well that Inter's going to do it. I don't see them doing it in 90 minutes. I see this either going to extra time or possibly penalties. But for me, Inter is also going to do it. And a reminder to all of you, our wonderful listeners, that the Champions League final, once again, is going to be played on Saturday, May 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. In our next episode of Full Time, we will review the outcome of the final for you all. And now it is time for a local and regional soccer update. High school soccer here locally in Sault Ste. Marie has officially wrapped up its playoffs, with city finals having taken place last night, which was Monday, May 26th. The champions have been crowned, and we will take you through the outcomes for you all in both league play and the city championships. A reminder to our listeners that in league play for all high school sports here in Sault Ste. Marie, teams who share the same record at the end of the season are both crowned as joint league champions. In junior boys, the league champions are the Cora Colts, and the city champions are the Cora Colts. In junior girls, the league title was shared between the St. Mary's Knights and the Cora Colts, and the city champions are the St. Mary's Knights. In senior boys, the league title was shared between the Cora Colts and the Superior Heights Steelhawks, and the city champions are the Cora Colts. In senior girls, the league champions are the St. Mary's Knights, and the city champions are the St. Mary's Knights. Gee, it was a fascinating end last night with the final day locally of high school soccer, where 4 city champions were crowned. St. Mary's takes both city titles for girls soccer, and Cora takes both city titles for boys soccer. Each final went down to the final minute, which displayed the competitiveness of the leagues this season. And obviously, you just heard that 2 of the leagues split league champions, just to show how close everything was. So your thoughts overall on the high school soccer season, my friend?
Yeah, a very weird season, just with how short and condensed it was. But I think that almost made it better. It made every game like feel like a final. Kind of the urgency was there from day one when you guys first kicked off to end last night. I think it's going to be it's a season that'll be looked on, I think, very fondly for just kind of the circumstances in which it came together, the circumstances that the organizers, coaches, the players themselves all kind of went through to make it happen. So yeah, pretty incredible season all around.
Yeah, and I got to obviously experience one of the Cup finals last night as a coach, and I got to see all the other Cup finals, and it was the exact same speech from the league convener at the end. Well, this was a very interesting season given the fact of how short it was, and you can't disagree with that because it was so short, it was so different, and everything got jam-packed essentially into 2 weeks, and then a week's worth of playoffs, and then last night the city final. So, like you said, it'll be a season that everybody looks on fondly, but hopefully next year our winter can just be normal and we can start to have the regular, sort of prolonged season that we typically have because it's definitely better for the players. It's better for everybody involved and you just kind of get more out of it, I would say. But for what it was, Gitano, an excellent season here in the Sioux locally. And it's not quite done yet. Now comes time for regional competition for high school soccer. The Northern Ontario Secondary School Athletics will be hosting its NASA regional competition with the opportunity for teams to qualify for the prestigious provincial OFSA competition in a little over a week's time. Here in Sault Ste. Marie, senior boys will be playing in NASA at Superior Heights. The Sioux will also be hosting AA NASA for junior boys. For senior girls, their NASA competition will be hosted in North Bay. North Bay will also be hosting Single A and Triple A divisions of NASA for junior boys. And Single A NASA for participating schools with school populations under 500 students in both senior girls and senior boys divisions will be hosted in Sudbury. There is no NASA competition for junior girls. Coming out of the Sioux this year, we will have a total of 7 teams participating at NASA, where each of them will have the opportunity to qualify for OFSA. What can this tournament and this opportunity mean to the players, coaches, and schools that are attending?
It could be huge. We kind of often talk about how the fact that for most of these kids, this is going to be the highest level of sport that they play. Um, so to kind of reach the peak of the peak you're going to play in, it's really, for a lot of these kids once in a lifetime. Coaches maybe not as much, just depending on how long they want to stick around and coach for. But like for the players, definitely, like this could be, for them once in a lifetime.
It very much could be, and these are things that people look back on and they reflect on as the years go on. So coming up here this upcoming weekend for NASA, it is that chance to qualify for OFSA, which is the most prestigious competition in all of the province and is, in comparison to the other ones in Canada, as high as you could possibly get. And as always, the competitions are spread out throughout the region, and this year sees the Sioux, as we said, host senior boys and a portion of the junior boys NASA competition. Gitano, these games are going to be played on Friday, May 30th, all day beginning at 11 a.m. and into the evening with the last match of the day kicking off at 8:15 p.m. The junior boys final will kick off at 3 p.m. on Friday. The semifinals will be played in the morning of Saturday, May 31st, with the senior boys' final taking place at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday as well. All games are played at Superior Heights Turf. Gitano, it's a great opportunity for people in our community if they are able to get out and watch some of the best that our region has to offer at high school level in the sport of soccer. Again, you just talked about what it could mean for athletes, coaches, and schools, but what can you expect to see, do you think, on the field of play come Friday and Saturday at Superior Heights?
I expect it to be probably the best soccer played at Spirit Heights this summer, considering, men's league. We're not quite at that level anymore. Some of you guys might have been, but I think these kids are probably a little higher up. And I think for the city, anytime you get a chance to see the best in the region, like playing in literally our backyard, it's always a fantastic opportunity. Hopefully, I'm able to get out to at least catch one or two of the games. But yeah, I think the level that we are going to see on the pitch is going to be extremely high, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Most definitely. And the big games, anyhow, are Friday at 3 o'clock, as I said, the NASA Junior Boys Final. And then Saturday at 1:30 is the Senior Boys Final. And that'll finish just right in time before the Champions League Final. So that's definitely a good thing because if it came down to Champions League Final in high school soccer, I would have had to take the Champions League. But thankfully, we can do both. So if anyone's looking to get out to those games, like I said, they're played all day Friday into the evening and then all morning Saturday. And then that final for the Senior Boys, 1:30 on Saturday. And with opportunities for teams to qualify for the Ontario Federation Secondary Athletics Association provincial competition classed as OFSA, we will keep you informed right here on Full Time in our next episode as to which teams qualified. Good luck to all participating schools and teams from the Sioux, the soccer community, and right here, all of us at Full Time are completely behind you. This is Daniel Scarpino and Gitano Gallo, and you are listening to the Full Time Podcast on 91 Network. A reminder that Full Time is sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Sioux Sports. Check out the Pizza Portal app for a quicker, easier way to get your next hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars. And be sure to check out Sioux Sports at siouxsports.com and Sioux Sports TV on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Full Time. As we bring today's show to a close, we want to extend our deepest thanks to all of you for being with us. Your support is the heartbeat of our show. Gee, great job tonight, sir.
Fantastic job to you as well, Scarps. Really fun wrapping up yet another season of Europe's Big Five. Just a fantastic job tonight. Fantastic job all season.
All season, indeed, man. It's always a pleasure, and like we often say all the time, right? It's a blessing every time we get to record together. So thank you again for tonight, sir. A reminder to our listeners that the next episode of Full Time will be recorded the week of June 2nd, 2025. That will be our final episode of Season 5 on Full Time. In that show, we will take a look at the outcome of the Champions League final, the outcome of the Conference League final, and a regional and provincial soccer update. As always, we'll keep everyone in the loop with all the happenings in the world of football. For weekly content, make sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe to all platforms of 91 Network on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Podbean, and Spaces at SiouxToday.com. For Gitano Gallo, my name is Daniel Scarpino, and thank you for tuning in to Full Time. We look forward to seeing you at kickoff next time back here on the Full Time Podcast and 91 Network. Best always.